Hey, long time no see. So, just a little baby update today. I'm going to be working on drafting a dress that I really want to make and using some fabric up that I've just been sitting on my stash for a while. I had to reject a piece because it involved like performance, like stretch fabric, and so I've decided that I'm going to use the stretch velvet that's in my collection as not punishment, but as a way to like get more comfortable with stretch fabric. So let's figure this out together. So not a lot of talking, but I am just gonna go through and show you as best as I can. Show you as best as I can like what I'm doing here. One big issue with my camera setup right now is that the overhead camera mount that I have for this camera, it's too light for the camera, even though the camera is pretty light itself. So it kind of like distorts and bends, and I can't seem to get it to not do that. So while I figure that out, we're just gonna have to jank it up a little bit and come up with a solution that way. So I'm just gonna set you up and have you here just recording everything until it says the battery's full, and then from there we'll see what happens. All right, so I'm gonna be kind of quiet. I'll just have my stuff on, but I'll probably do a little voiceover or something. Okay, bye. There are all my bodice blocks. I just worked on this the other day and I was very proud of myself for having gotten this done. So this was why I wanted to get them done so I could start working on this. Okay, so I'm starting first with the pattern drafting portion. You'll see here that I struggle a lot with the paper today. I don't normally struggle this much with the pattern paper. This is actually construction craft paper from the hardware store. I believe I got it at Lowe's. And I'm just prepping all of my bodice block pieces while I kind of tell you a little bit about what I did about the bodice block. So the bodice block is actually a Mood Fabrics shell pattern. It's a simple dress with a couple of darts and a skirt and a basic sleeve. And so I figured because it's just a basic dress block, you could use it to kind of make your ideal block pattern. So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking all the kind of sizes of pattern pieces that I'm going to need for this project and prepping them out with the bodice block here. I am also in this video very tired. I've just done a bunch of different stuff for the show that I was costuming for, which was a production of Dracula. Actually, it was Dracula, A Comedy of Terrors, which is, I'm going to be real with you, a different show. But I wanted to, for the closing night, I wanted to have a very vampy type of outfit to wear. So this is what this project is. So here I am just prepping my paper to make my bodice block. I'm going to be totally real with you. I know that I should be just using like a pencil to do all of my pattern draft, like tracing and everything. But between the lighting and also the shadows in my room has awful lighting in here. It just is easier for me to use permanent marker. It is much more visible, and I know it's permanent, but it's fine. I know that for a fact that I can just kind of mark what line I'm using and be done with it. So here I am tracing up my bodice block. So this was the block from the Mood pattern after a lot of modifications. The only modification I'll need to make in this pattern today is actually shifting all of my fullness into a new dart. And you're going to see it in a little bit, but excuse me, good God. But I have a lot of struggle with figuring out how to map out this dart. And the reason for that is that I made the mistake of not fully going through the apex, which is a lot lower than I am used to whenever I look at patterns. I actually think I might need to do some thinking about how high the apex is, but that's just how high it is. There's a lot of bust to deal with here. So at first you'll see me close up the waist dart. That's no problem. I do that all the time. when I'm working on on projects. But you'll see here that I am figuring out what did I do with this French dart. So I'm just retaping it and just doing a new calculation with making sure I go through the apex where I want to go. And I really want that kind of steep dart angle. So that is what I'm doing here. And just doing a little bit of finagling with the pattern piece. How much do I want to take off? Realizing that I need to take off quite a bit just so that you can kind of see exactly what's happening here. So I did cut off the dart fullness, which was originally backed in paper, but I just needed to see it a little bit better today. So this is now how much fullness I need to look through and remove. I do want to do a little bit of an angle calculation in terms of how much I need to do, and I'm just taping up the back pattern pieces so they don't come apart when I'm actually doing my pattern cutting. This is a habit that I just have made sure to pick up because I know for a fact that if I don't think about doing it, I will absolutely do it. And because I need to remove so much fabric fullness out of this dart, because of the size of the dart fullness that I need to get taken out between my bust and not my bust, it's a pretty significant difference for me. Instead of doing that, I'm just going to try to reduce as much fabric bulk as possible and just add in seam allowance so that I can just cut this piece out altogether. This is not normally how I do darts, and I really don't like doing darts this way, but because I'm only having one dart on this dress, I really need to think about how I can reduce the amount of bulk and also fabric waste in this. Since I only have a few yards of this, I actually ended up having extra ultimately for this project, but I just wanted to be safe. I wasn't sure exactly how much fabric the ruffles were going to take, so I tried to be cognizant of that during the drafting stage. So just finishing up adding seam allowance so that I can go ahead and move on to this. Eventually, I find out later that I didn't need to make any changes aside from this dart, which meant that nothing in the neckline was changing, the shoulder wasn't changing. This is a really, really simple baby's first pattern drafting project. So if you have your bodice block, I totally recommend just adding this new dart in. Eventually, I also knew that I was going to be taking out even more once I did the fit, because I knew I was eventually going to be doing a dart contour, but I didn't know how much contouring I was going to need to do left, so I didn't really bother. Next up, I did draft out the pattern for the sleeve. I assumed that I was going to have to do a big puff sleeve. I wanted this dramatic puff sleeve at first, and then I got lazy, and you'll see later that I eventually had to take it out anyway because it was just way too big for just all of it. The thing is, my block is based on woven fabrics, and this is stretch. And eventually I'll probably, if I get into stretch fabric enough, I will probably consider making a block for stretch fabrics. But today is not that day. So I'm just looking up really quickly out of frame how to do any sort of puff sleeve. So I'm about to just do this math really quickly here. The idea originally was I was going to do that kind of dramatic vampire puff sleeve, but just kind of keep it concentrated to the top of the shoulder and keep everything else pretty tapered, so that the ruffle could be a little bit more dramatic once I take care of that. One thing I do really want to work on, especially as I get more time to work on projects and also work more in the space, is really figuring out a good camera setup. I would love to have an above camera setup so that I can kind of learn drafting with you. Today's not that day though, so we're just gonna cut out the sleeve here. And I am going to then take that, and eventually I'm going to cut the center as well as the kind of side angles that I need to make here, so that I can make a puff. And you'll see later, I eventually omit this puff altogether. I really had to take quite a bit out of the shoulder. I didn't realize how high the shoulder was because it was just so big. It was my shoulder was kind of drooping off onto the arm, and I really wanted the shoulder point of my bodice to be at my shoulder bone. So because it wasn't sitting there from fit issues, it's not something that happens in woven fabrics, but because this fabric is stretch, it wasn't something I thought of at first. So I really had to kind of deal with that. So just double checking how to do this with business. Now, having this kind of extra ease at the bicep was actually quite nice. I ended up not needing it. As I mentioned before, I had to take in the sleeve quite a bit before I could put the ruffle in, which I didn't know until after I put the ruffle in. I like did all the sleeve ruffles, put everything in, and then tried it on and realized it was like basically hanging off of me. So that was a learning experience that we are figuring out today. But for now, I'm just kind of making a small puff, nothing too dramatic because I really wanted the drama to come from the sleeve ruffle and what eventually would become the skirt ruffle. And I will say though that if I wanted to do puff sleeves in the future, I really enjoyed this tutorial. I'm a big closet historian watcher. I think that it's a really great channel if you want to learn pattern drafting in a way that isn't really intimidating. It's just kind of like, here's how you move the paper around and now you have a whole outfit. So if you probably already watch your channel, but if you don't and you want to learn how to draft patterns, yeah, get into it. I'm very imperfect with how I do this. It is not precise in any way, shape, or form, but it's getting the job done, and that's all that matters to me right now at this point. So right now I'm just cutting up the puff, extra bits of the puff sleeve that I added here, and just taping down all the stuff in the back so that nothing moves around when I actually get to cutting. And quickly just making a skirt pattern version for this dress. So just like the back, I'm not changing much with the skirt at all. Like I didn't change much with the bodice. The main thing I wanted to do was add length so that this pattern currently stops right at my knees, which I actually kind of find to be an unflattering place for them to stop. Not that I love the term flattering to begin with, but I just really don't like it. So I'm just kind of getting an idea of where I want it to stop, which I decided just under the knee, but before the largest part of my calf muscle. I find that that's a spot that I really like when it comes to stretch skirts. Just like some fast fashion skirts that I have that I really like have stopped at that point there. And just marking out my dart for this. I believe this is the back skirt that I'm working on. Yes, it's the back skirt. So now it's just me double checking. And I do kind of cut this out knowing that I am going to be doing a back slit because at the time I knew that I wasn't going to be doing a ruffle. Like I said, I changed my mind later, but I wanted to have the slit so that even though I was going to take this in quite a bit, it would still be walkable and would just give the illusion of not being very walkable. So, and spoiler alert, the ruffle really helps with that. So if you are thinking of making this dress and skipping the skirt ruffle, I recommend keeping it in because the flare of the skirt ruffle with its knife pleating and pulling it in severely to be kind of a wiggle skirt really gives a great illusion of it being unwalkable, even if it's pretty comfortable to wear. So this is me doing the back skirt, making sure that I am marking. I know that I have seam allowance in all of my pattern pieces, but for some reason, I just always have to mark that there is seam allowance in there and exactly how much. But I know that eventually I won't need to do this. I'm just kind of doing this for now, as well as marking when I make this pattern, because my hope is that as I keep working on projects, I can keep getting better at drafting them. So now I'm just going to work on the front skirt. Trying again, just a futile effort here. It's just pointless for me to try to do this. For some reason, that particular day, it just really wasn't working to iron the paper in the way that it normally works. I know people say use a low temperature setting, and I tried that today, and that's what was not working for me. But because this is such thick paper, it really can handle a cotton setting as long as there's no steam. So do as I say, not as I do. Don't follow my advice. I would say follow people who are art experts. But look, if a cotton's, heat setting is going to work for me when I iron out my paper, I'm going to do it. As long as it doesn't burn the paper, I'm all good. So I'm just making sure I mark out the length of the skirt so that I can make sure they're consistent. I'm really bad at that pretty often. I am trying to get better about it. So it worked out great this time around, I will say. So I'm very happy with that. So this is the front skirt that I'm working on right now. This is going to just be cut on the fold, just keeping the darts as is. I had to take in the skirt quite a bit throughout this process. So keeping this was actually really helpful for me. And so I'm just going to cut this out, and you'll see me hem and haw about why I am about to cut the back bodice and why I don't need to cut the back bodice, and just wondering what exactly I'm doing with this and what I don't need to do, and just getting all of this cut off, and me being aggressively left-handed with the scissor, and just thinking, oh God, I think I was just also really tired today because this day that I was working on it, it was just a lot of things that I had to kind of think about what was going on in terms of preparing for the show that I was working on, which was the show that this was a closing night outfit for. And I think I'm just like figuring out that I don't need to make a back bodice piece to be retraced out because there's no point, there is no changes. So I'm just putting everything away and making sure that everything is properly labeled. And now that that's done, I'm looking at it as like, oh, I don't need to do that. And then thinking, oh, maybe I could just do the ruffle or something. And then you'll see I take a second before realizing, actually, I don't want to make a ruffle pattern either. They're just rectangles. So that's me doing that and just figuring out how long it needs to be based on that. But then I remember that I am taking the skirt in. So I'm like, do I want to do that? So you'll see me eventually not bother in any way, shape, or form and just write down out the approximate measurements I need, only to find out that it's not going to be 62 inches long for a ruffle. It's probably going to be half that. I really took in the skirt quite a bit. It ended up being under, I think not quite half, but a little over half as wide as it did come in the pattern. Okay, so this is just like a little baby update, just to like let you in on a little thing. I decided last minute, just now, before I even think about cutting out the rest of the garment, I've cut out the bodice and the back skirt so far. It was just like in a pile of what's on top. And I think I'm gonna skip the skirt ruffle. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna cut out the skirt as normal, and I'm gonna turn it into like a little wiggle skirt. So really take in the bottom of the pencil skirt and leave a slit in the back. I think that's gonna be a lot more fun for me and also a little bit more wearable. So just like a heads up that's when I go in to work on the skirt later, that's probably one thing I will focus on, is after I put the skirt together, really getting it nice and tight so that I can turn it into a little wiggle skirt. So just a heads up. Also, another reason I want to keep the scraps, and I just wanted to, if you've never worked with velvet before, you'll notice that it has a little pile. And when you try to iron this like you would any other garment, all that is going to get crushed, and I don't want that. So what I will be doing is taking this like big old scrap of velvet here that I have and putting it right side on top, so like the velvet is right sides together, or wrong side on top, so the velvet's right sides together. And I will kind of use it as like a press cloth. It's less likely to crush. So just a little quick update for you and a little tip for velvet. Back to cutting. So quick update. I realized I'm gonna have a bunch of scraps, and I have a bunch of little tiny things that aren't gonna be seen. So I went ahead and I've traced some facings for the neck from my bodice blocks. So I'm just cutting these out now, and then I will get to the other parts that can't be used with scraps. Hello, quick update. So I have done the bodice part. It looks kind of pokey, ignore that. And basically I just wanted to show you what I did. So I did the straight darts as normal, and then I knew that when I tried on the bodice, I was gonna try it inside out. So I've tried it inside out, and then I've pinched out the additional contouring so I get that, like, you know, really tight single dart effect. So that's how I did it. I wasn't trying to map out the dart on the pattern piece. Okay. All right, girlies, welcome back. It is the next day. I'm to be on camera right now. The girls are out. They are ready for bed. My hair is also ready for bed. I, however, am not. So I'm finishing up the like base pieces before I assemble the dress together. And the thing about this vampire's wife style dress is that it is so, like, aside from the darts, right now it seems to be so, like, such a simple thing to assemble on your own. I see why this was like such a dupeable dress style to do, because it's really just a simple shell with like a modified dart. But I did want to update you real quick. So one thing I did do is I did assemble the bodice, and I did update the darts. So now this is what they look like. This is what they look like on the wrong side. So you'll see there's like a little bit of a curve here, then it goes to like the standard dart here, and then it goes out here to like a standard looking dart as well. I haven't pressed any of these yet. I'm gonna do all of that at one time after I do all of my darts so that I can like really work on pressing all the velvet. But once I finish the front skirt's darts, all those darts will be done. Then I'll go ahead and prepare the pleating for the sleeve ruffles, which are here. My sleeve ruffles are here, so I have those. I actually want to prepare and assemble them on the sleeve before I put the sleeve together. And I want to assemble the sleeve while I'm doing the bodice, because there's no like real order when it comes to the sleeves like that. So I'm going to take care of all that. I just wanted to update you. I'm probably going to not be on camera filming any of this. Probably just catch you at me fitting the skirt to be more of like a wiggle structure. Yeah, so that's where we are. I'm not getting dressed to film. It's 9 o'clock at night, so you get my beautiful velvet flocked covered sewing machine. So there you go. All right, see you later. Update. I know this doesn't look like I'm almost out of this thread, so I am gonna stop for now. I originally was gonna work on the sleeve ruffles, but then I was like, I have so much fabric, and the ruffles I was gonna make were gonna be too short because I only did a 2-to-1 ratio. So now I have a 3-to-1 ratio for each sleeve in the hopes that I can get some real pleats out of this. So I am going to do what I can without the need for thread. And then tomorrow I need to stop by the quilt. I'll stop by my local quilt shop, gets Gutermann thread. So I'll just take my bobbin and do some thread matching so that it's a little bit consistent. Because this thread doesn't quite match this fabric, but I don't want it to look so different. Like you can clearly tell it doesn't really match. So that's that on that. So yeah, I'm going to do some pleating. Anything I can do without actually stitching anything together, I will try to get it done today. And then hopefully I can get this done this week, because tomorrow night I have a show, and then Sunday, I should be free on Sunday. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe I'll do something else productive. But I think tomorrow I should have my thread. All right. See ya. Hey, it's another day. Yesterday I kind of just sped through a lot of stuff after I got back from my dinner theater gig yesterday. So I just kind of wanted to give you a quick update on where I am on this dress. I haven't been filming a lot of it because I've mostly just been doing it in what I can only describe to be the worst outfit imaginable. So just a little quick update. The main thing I've been working on is the sleeves. So this is one sleeve done. I have knife pleated some velvet down here at the bottom. I'm so proud of my knife pleating because I don't normally pleat things. All I did was just like measured 1 inch along each inch of like a 3 times length of fabric, longer than where my elbow length is, which is at around a 14-inch circumference. So 14 times 3 is what, 42, I want to say. So did a 42-inch long piece of velvet plus some seam allowance, then knife pleated it down to fit the sleeve. So I went ahead and installed that in and then top stitched it so that it would stay nice and down and clean. The sleeves are hemmed at the ruffle, so now the sleeves came in finished. Clips holding the other sleeve together. I did put the facing in. I both understitched and top stitched it. So that's what that is. And then when I next get to the iron, I'm gonna just kind of clean that up a little bit with the iron when I press it. That is the goal for that. This dress, thankfully, is like really stretchy. So what my next plan is after I've put in the sleeves and everything, I'm not gonna touch the zipper yet. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and assemble the skirt and put the skirt on with the bodice, so everything is put on that way. And then I actually am going to do something a little bit backwards. I'm gonna then put the zipper in, close the back skirt. Actually, this isn't backwards. Now this is like standard order of operations. I'm then gonna put the zipper in after I assemble the skirt with it, close the skirt up, and then before I do the hem, I'm going to take the skirt in to the wiggle, like the wiggle skirt length that I want, and then hem the skirt so that I have an idea of how it all looks. Okay, it is Tuesday. It was Monday when I last spoke with you. I'm getting this dress done whether it likes it or not. I don't know what the heck has been going on with my brain and my focus. I mean, I have an idea. There was one day where I got asked 6 times in a row on the same day if I might have ADHD, and I said, technically I don't have a diagnosis. Is that your answer? And no, it wasn't the answer that they were looking for. They just needed to know if I had it or not, and I can't answer that question. Maybe I could actually, now that I think about it. So just a quick update of what I did last night. I just have a ruffle to attach to the skirt, and then you will see it in my messy little sewing room. Don't worry, the next project is reorganizing this thing after months of work and not being able to post nearly as often as I would like, and really having to put this channel on a back burner, which I really did not enjoy doing this year. So what I mean is I didn't enjoy putting on a back burner. I do enjoy making content, I promise. So because I was having a bunch of issues with, like, my pleats weren't precisely perfect on one side, which meant that I was a couple inches short because I didn't do it right, of getting the whole ruffle on there to sew it on. It's literally like the last machine step I need to do. I still have some hand finishing I need to do on this dress, which will take me not long at all. It will take me so little time that it's kind of laughable. So just to like get this done and put away so I could get to bed, I went ahead and hand basted all of the ruffles on this here ruffle skirt bottom, and then I left it alone for the night. It is the next afternoon. I had a meeting that ended up getting canceled, which it happens. Theater people are busy people, especially in this town. So never anyone's fault. But that does mean that I have a little bit of free time instead to work on this and hopefully finish this up today so I can finish editing this video and getting it posted onto the channel before I have to wear it this Saturday. So yeah. I'm going to do a little bit of tinkering around with this ruffle to get it attached to the skirt, and then I will tidy up as much as I can tidy up a messy room like mine. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, as a sewist and like as a creative, like my home office is always cuckoo bananas messy, and I've just decided You know what? The world is literally on a flame, on fire all the time. I don't care how messy my room looks on this channel, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. It doesn't reflect the rest of my home. It is just me being messy. So I don't know what to tell you. So yeah. Yep. So last night, knife pleated this ruffle, tried to put it on, realized it was a bad idea, then basted the ruffle, and now I'm here today. We're going to attach the ruffle if it's the last thing I do. And hopefully it is one of the last things I have to do on this dress. Okay. So I'm going to get to work. I'm going to put on a little video, and because I struggle, I don't have like good angles in this room. This room is so tiny and it has to fulfill so many purposes that it ends up not being good for any of them. Which is why the next project after this is really locking, quote unquote, the great lock-in of 2020 whatever. I know what year it is. And just getting this room to a place where it's usable for a lot of stuff. Like I have like pattern blocks that I want to organize, and I got a rack to organize those pattern blocks. I have so much fabric and like scrap fabric and stuff that I want to organize. And I have like fabric scraps that I want to either repurpose or something. And I also want to make room for like other things. Like I can get away with like my filming setup being kind of sparse because I got curtains that are a good backdrop and can just cover my closet mirror and just be able to use a ring light for that and be fine. But oh my God. And I have so many supplies and I want to put them up on the wall, but I just like haven't really, I've been wanting to like invest in a good wall setup and I just like haven't done it. Like it's so hard having mental energy for things. Not brain fog, like just the mental energy of like after the end of the day, I just want to pass out and not be a person for a few hours and just be off. And it's hard to do that right now. So yeah, that's where we are. Let's get this ruffle attached, shall we? Okay, so now that the dress is pretty much done at this point, there were some things that I did want to add in terms of details to that. The first thing was I wanted to do a removable zipper pull. I just kind of liked the idea of the drama of it. I find out later that this doesn't actually work the greatest, but it's fine. It's cute and it works. So I ended up keeping it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of just talking through it. For some reason, I thought this was going to be audio footage that I kept on camera. I wanted to do this metaphor of like a pomegranate, something about like vampires and pomegranates. There's like an opulence to it, but there's also that like dripping red. I just thought it was a cool idea. So I wish I had gotten bigger beads for this, but these were the beads that I could find that I was able to get at Michael's for pretty quickly and pretty inexpensively. So here I am trying to struggle and figure out how to make my little pomegranate. It wasn't the best of it, but that's okay. She was cute. I think I would love to do this again in the future, but maybe with some better tools and supplies. For example, I think I did this chain for too long. I've had this chain in my stash for years. I want to say I got it from Michael's as well. But it's like 6 feet of chain. I really liked the chain detail. I loved having it there. I just think it might be a little bit too long for a zipper pull. And so here I am trying my best to get this jump ring added on here. And I have no experience with making jewelry whatsoever. I now have jewelry supplies, so I think I might try it in future. But for now, I was just really trying to figure out how to get this jump ring to be even and also eventually try to sew on this little bead that I made. You'll see that the first time this happens, it's kind of a fail and I have to do it again. It's just really silly of me to figure this out, but I'm nothing if not craftily audacious. So there I am getting my first jump ring there. So proud of myself. Wow, look at me. So now I have this strung on with a beading needle and some nylon thread. And I'm thinking, oh, I can just kind of loop this on here maybe and get everything nice and aligned. Will that work? And the answer is no. No, it's not going to work. If anything, I pulled too hard and suddenly now my beads are gone. but the string was still on there. So I lost that bead and that's fine. But let me see what I can do here. Maybe I can try, okay, that's still tightly on there. So I'm just going to add on another little bead and then my little spangle. I had some like gold spangles that I love. I want to find a better use for them, but they look like they're supposed to be just like metal beads, but they read like spangles. So I'm kind of happy that they were there. So I think I just decided to loop from the bottom and then cut this bit off and then kind of seal it with some heat here, just taking my lighter to the nylon thread, and there's the bottom of it. So after that, I add on a little lobster claw. I wanted this to be detachable because the dress is fully washable aside from this. So I was able to just like, I'm able to just like throw it in the washing machine, but I didn't want to keep this on there. So I wanted it to be detachable pretty easily. So I added this lobster claw onto there, and now I have a little zipper pull. And then after that, I decided I was going to add a little brooch in the form of a snake. I just thought they looked really cool on Pinterest, so I thought I'd give it a little try. I feel like I would definitely do this again. I think they didn't have big enough rhinestones for the head at Michael's when I was there the last time, and that's fine. So we're just gonna call that good and even. And here I am just kind of putting on a mixture of black beads, opaque black beads with an opaque coating, as well as some seed beads and some bicone beads, just like a little mixture just to give it a lot of texture. I might just like put some photos of the finished product so you can see kind of what it looks like. But this is me just like, I pulled a bunch of beads together and really just decided to go for what I could fit in at the time and what could be a little bit different. So now that that's done, here is the final dress minus the brooch that was also working in the background. This is me after taking it in quite a bit. I really love the shape of it. I'm not wearing shapewear in this, but I feel pretty great. I did also have to take up and take in the sleeves a little bit. They were almost down to my wrists before the ruffles, and I had to cut quite a bit off of the sleeves, as well as take them in at the shoulders. So ultimately, I really loved the fabric. It was surprisingly not that bad to work with, except for the hem of the skirt, which is why I ended up doing the ruffle. I really didn't want to have to hem that skirt. So you can tell though that the skirt ruffle really gives it that illusion of it being really kind of tight together because it's flaring out. And yeah, here's my final thoughts. Overall, you should learn how to pattern draft. That's crazy that this room is this lit with just these two lights. It's fine. Overall, I think this is really fun. I think I'll keep this pattern. I'm really happy with how everything looks. I just need to find some accessories. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Thank you so much if you've stayed this long to watch this video. I'm gonna go put this on the computer and go give it a little edit so that I can post it so that you can see it. Otherwise, I hope you had fun today. Bye.